I've created a new project called O2D Buttons. In a little bit of review here, I created 3 labels. This one is named LBL Team. I set the auto size property to false, made the font much larger and bold. I've got another label here that is not named. It's not going to be accessed in the code, so it just says click a button below, and then another label of team players. The auto size is false on this one, and I named this LBL Team Players. So we have instructions here to the user to click a button below. So what we're going to look at in this lesson is adding buttons. So the button is the primary control for triggering a process in our GUI applications. There are other ways to do it, but most commonly we'll use buttons. I'm going to take the button control in our toolbox and just drag it over here. And I get a small button. Now I can also take the button and create a size that I wanted. And delete that, because I can always come back and change the size too. So I want to make this button a little bit larger, and I'm going to change the text of the button. We're going to have it say Flagstaff. And I'm going to name this button BTN Flagstaff. I can change the back color and the fore color here as well. I'm not going to bother to do that, but a lot of the properties that you've seen in the labels and text boxes are also here. In the next video, we'll talk about the control class from which the label, text box, and button class derive from that parent control class. And they share a lot of the same properties, methods, and events. Okay, that's pretty much it I'm going to do as far as this button. The primary event for the button is the click event. And if I just simply double click on the button, it's going to give me the event procedure for handling the click event of my button. So it handles BTN Flagstaff, the name of my button, .click, and the name of this procedure is BTN Flagstaff _click. Now I could change that to anything I wanted. The name is not pertinent here as long as it follows the conventions of all one word, and a few other rules we'll talk about shortly. I'm going to do some coding here though to make this do something. So we had our LBL team. I'm going to change its text to be Flagstaff Bald Eagles. And I'm also going to change the back color to equal color dot green, and the fore color to equal color dot light blue. LBL team players dot text equals team players and VBCRLF Adam Anderson. That VBCRLF is the carriage return line feed. It's going to be a new line. And I have an asterisk here that should be a ampersand. So this is something called concatenation. We'll talk about in a near future lesson. We're adding strings together. And so now I'm going to test my application. Click Flagstaff, and I get the Flagstaff Bald Eagles, and then my team players. Now Bob Baxter and Carolyn Campbell ran together here So I'm going to close that, and I had forgotten a VBCRLF between those two. This is my debugging process. Now I'm going to run again just to make sure this all works. And I would then add more buttons here for the other teams and changing the text, the colors, and the team players for those teams. That's what a button does and how it works. So once again, I can go back to the, and maybe I want to change the colors here to represent the colors that we used for our label for that team. So the back color could be green. And the forecolor, light blue. And maybe I want to change the font here, make it something a little bit bolder. There we go. So one thing we can do here also with the button is change the flat style. So there's enabled. There's a pop-up button. Standard, and system. The system is simply going to override the colors to use the system colors. I'll go back to standard. You can select the button, copy it, and paste it to create more buttons. And so let me go ahead and complete this project, and I'll come back and show you the result. I copied and pasted 3 more buttons with the text of Morency, Payson, and Tombstone. Name this BTN Morency, BTN Payson, BTN Tombstone, change the colors accordingly, and then double-clicked each one to add code. So here's my code for those 3 added buttons. I copied and pasted the code from the Flagstaff one, pasted it in here for the Morency one. So this is the click event for BTN Morency. And change the values for each of the properties for LBL team text, back color, and forecolor, as well as the text property for LBL team players. Did the same thing for the click event of BTN Payson. And then this is the code for BTN Tombstone. I'm going to encourage you to pause the video here, come back and create this application, develop the interface with the 4 buttons and the 3 labels, and then code those 4 buttons with the code that I presented here. Of course, we want to test. Let's make sure this all works. So there is the Flagstaff Bald Eagles, the Morency Copper Miners, the Payson Gila Monsters, and the Tombstone 6 Shooters. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.